Hey y'all, Matt here from RetroOnly.com. Today I'm going to be doing a durability and drop test for the Dino Fire controller. This is the generic controller that you can find all over Amazon, eBay, normally $15 to $20, sometimes a little bit more, sometimes a little bit less, but I'm going to do a full drop test of this controller. I'm going to drop it off of my balcony that's 10 foot in the air, and I'm going to drop it off onto the ground, I'm going to drop it onto a piece of wood, and then I'm going to drop it straight onto concrete from 10 foot in the air as well to see how well this generic controller survives the drop. So let's go ahead and hop into that test. All right, so this is the Dino Fire controller that we're going to be dropping off. To make it as even of a comparison as possible, what I'm going to do is I'm just going to put my arm right on here, and then I'm just going to release and drop it right off the edge. So let's go ahead and do that now, and then we'll retest it right inside. All right, I've got the switch up, and as you can see here, I've got the Dino Fire controller, and it turned on just fine. The only damage that I have from the drop is right there on the back, and it's really just a little bit of dirt. It's not anything too terrible. And let's go ahead and test it out here. And as you can see, everything is still working fine. All of the different buttons are working just fine as well. So there's no issues with any of the buttons after the first drop. Now I'm gonna go ahead and drop this Dino Fire controller onto wood, same height, and we will test and see if that damages it either, or if it stays working just fine with that. All right, as you can see here, the Dino Fire is now connected to the switch. This is after dropping it on the wood. So let's go ahead and see if we can go into it. And the left stick works just fine, as does the right stick. Let's try out the buttons. Looks like we're good there. And everything still appears to be working after dropping it onto that piece of wood. As you can hear, it was a louder hit than just dropping it onto the ground. Now what we're gonna do is I'm gonna drop it onto a piece of concrete that I have right next to my balcony. So let's go ahead and do that now and see if that ends up destroying it or if this controller survives that as well. All right, so this is after dropping it onto the concrete, and as you can see, it is still turning on. There are some scuff marks on the back. They're kind of hard to see, especially they're down there, and then up at the top, but none of the buttons were broken. Now let's go ahead and test it out. So the left stick is working just fine. The right stick is working just fine. And it looks like all of the buttons are still working. Let's try that one, and the back ones as well. So even after dropping this Dino Fire controller onto concrete, it still works. That's pretty good durability if you ask me, especially for a cheap controller. As you can see, this controller survived very well, especially considering how much cheaper it is than all of the other controllers that are on the market. This is just a generic controller, but it survived being dropped onto the ground, dropped onto the wood, and even dropped onto concrete as well from 10 foot in the air. So this is an excellent controller for you if you have kids or if you just aren't very careful with your controllers. And on top of that, it's pretty cheap as well. I hope this video has been helpful to you. Again, my name is Matt from RetroOnly.com. Have a great rest of your day.